Hey, Internet. Hopefully. Let's double check things are working. Yep. Hey, Internet. Welcome. We're here to talk case sensitivity training. I'm here with Steve and Judd, who is like, you know, we're deciding on the title. Is a certain PowerShell royalty as of the summit. He has a crown, but right now he's got an amazingly cool hat and a really, really nice 3D printed bit of PowerShell bling behind him. Yeah.
Where's my finger? There it is.
Yeah, it's right there. Yeah,
It,
you got it.
it's weird trying to do this, looking at myself through your screen versus via a slight bit internet delay. It's like, oh, and I have to introduce Travel Piggy. He's in the
Uh,
back with his friends.
yes, I see him now. I see him now. I'm glad he's getting a chance to witness this first time outing of our case sensitivity training.
That's right.
Uh, let's try to get into it and talk about some of our experiences with case. Do you want your mug on the screen? You just want to kind of go with the slide deck.
Let's look at the slides. I mean, if you're gonna hide behind your pugs, I
Uh,
should probably hide behind some slides, at least for a little bit.
Fair.
Is there a way you can get the
Yep. Audio
list of
preview off.
people list of people off? Is what I was thinking.
Sure, I can do that too. All right,
If not,
or at least try to.
yeah, you're trying. Okay, Teams and OBS and whatever foolishness you've got with your reflection of video.
That's all right. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the audio overlay for a second, too. Sorry for all the inside baseball here for those witnessing. All right, let's get this started. We're talking about case sensitivity training, right? And that is a case study in correct casing. We are going to make a bunch of bad jokes here. We're just going to get started now. Let me actually properly share my screen for the call so that it minimizes everything else
Yeah, there we
for the
go.
people in Teams.
Yes, us Teams people are sensitive to uh, where the slide is maximized.
Cool.
We're not
All
just
right.
sensitive to letters. We're sensitive to slides.
This will happen a lot. We are going to make a lot of bad jokes, like all the bad jokes, all the bad jokes.
I was gonna say, are you calling my jokes bad right out of the gate? Come on, man.
I mean, yeah,
Come on.
I actually am. But like, this is going to be the fun part of this. So, what is
All right.
this? This is the Pacific PowerShell user group. We meet the second Wednesday of every month. We try to, at least. It turns out that sometimes overlaps with the PowerShell Summit. That's what happened last month. Please join the meetup if you haven't. If you're interested in speaking, go ahead and reach out to the organizers. That'd be myself or Chris Leonetti, or you can even try reaching Stephen. He's being roped into helping organize more and more events. Every month we have a speaker and a discussion topic. You know, we broadcast and record meetups. This is like your consent warning. This month's topic is case sensitivity training. So let's go into who am I / who are we, and I think like we're supposed to start buddy copying this dynamic, right? Let me actually, I am going to bring your
Something,
face into the corner here.
something like that. Something like that. Oh, I think they can see me. Can they not
All
see
right,
me?
we'll see.
Whatever. It
So
doesn't matter. You
Steve,
know, yes,
you're
I am
supposed to
here.
introduce me, right? I'm supposed
That,
to introduce you, something like this.
that's right. Here we go. Let's see how bad I can butcher this. So I am here with James Brundage. He is a newly minted PowerShell MVP from Microsoft, and that's kind of a long time coming, in my opinion, because he's been on the core team. He did some of the coding for PowerShell back when he worked at Microsoft, and he continues to do interesting and amazing things with the language. And it's it's difficult to find something that he doesn't either know something about or know how to find it when it comes to PowerShell. So there you go, James. How to do?
All right. I think we did all right. I'm going to try to do you now. Steve should be an MVP, at least in my opinion. He's a really awesome PowerShell helpful person. He deals with PowerShell and Linux all the time in the day job. knows PowerShell fairly inside and out, is great helping people learn PowerShell, and he also sort of virtually travels the world, sometimes literally, with his companion Piggy, walking the earth seeking people who need PowerShell help, or both somewhat PowerShell Ronin. Picture a samurai movie if you want, or just think we're silly if you want. This is kind of the point of the whole thing. By the way, we're going to want you to be more vocal as we go when we talk through more and more of our shared pains. This should get fun for us all. But I think we're on to the
That's right.
next part, right? So, oh,
Oh, I think that
you were supposed
for
to do
the
this?
well, just let's do a little housekeeping for a second because it's something you mentioned. When someone has something to join in with, if you just raise your hand, we'll keep an eye on that in Teams. And it looks like we already have one raised hand. So, Jacoby, you want to jump in, or did
I might.
was it
Oh,
a
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
hey?
Okay. Well, yeah, it's just nice to see you again. No, I might have accidentally pressed that button when I was doing some applause, but
All
yeah,
right.
That'll happen.
and
It's
it's
all
just
right. Don't worry.
Hey,
yeah.
glad you're here. All right. Now that we got that out of the way, so oh
Let's move
shoot, were
past
we
our
supposed to
embarrassed.
remove this?
I
What
thought
were
you
we
were
doing
supposed to
here?
do this.
Okay, fine.
We're
One
both
of us
big
was.
PowerShell nerds and
Yeah.
apparently not big slide deck nerds. And we both love helping the PowerShell community, and we have both been hurt. And
Yes, this is a truth. If you're like me, you've been hurt case by case and word by word and caps by caps because they just come in all different crazy ways, and we're going to take a look at some of those. Um, yeah,
but
but
don't worry,
don't worry, because
we're
we're
on the
on the
case.
case. All right, you got to say this next one.
Let's bust some caps. I mean, I think I can say this next one. Maybe I'm gonna get in trouble for saying the next one.
All right, well,
But
if
don't get too sensitive about it, right? Like, am I supposed to say bust some caps anymore? I don't know. I don't think we are. It's some sensitive times. Let's talk about the past, present, and future, and sensitivity. This is our first run of this. Be nice to us, please.
that's right.
Past first.
So, in the past, at least if you come from my past, you come from the past of PCs and DOS. And DOS never cared about case. DOS did not care. You could do whatever you wanted. DOS was like, yeah, whatever. And I think it was Windows 95 that actually introduced case sensitivity into file names. But again, since it was based on DOS, they still didn't care. They're like, yeah, whatever. You can put whatever case you want, but we're going to do an 8.3 behind the scenes. And then eventually they got that worked out. However, if you have a Unix
Oh,
background,
they really always cared. Like the hardcore nerds would never shut up about this. They would just always like you have to be case sensitive. That's the right thing to do. Everything matters in case it's important. We want to have multiple versions of files with different cases. This is really important to us, and it's always been that way, so it should never change. Also, a friendly reminder here: Macs are Unix. Macs are also
mm-hmm,
people too.
mm-hmm.
So I've been told. So I believe. But either way, you're expecting something.
Totally expecting something. And also, either way,
You're
you're angry
pissed.
because it's either working the way you think it should and everyone else is wrong, or it's working the way you think it's not and everyone else is wrong. You're right. Whatever. Whatever.
Yeah.
So that's the
So
past.
the present, unfortunately, fortunately, well, lots of the world runs on old code. So we are very much, at the very least, influenced by the past, the collective past that we all live in, let alone, doomed to repeat certain aspects of it. And that brings us to the future, which is that the more things change, the more things stay the same. I've been a nerd for a long time now, and I cannot picture an era of computing where we don't have dependencies that are old and less than understood, let alone have ever solved this case sensitivity battle. This is like tabs versus spaces on steroids.
Oh
People
my goodness.
always argue about this and always will. So we're going to have to care about case. That's
That's
kind of
right.
where we both kind of came to, is like we need a good explainer on where case sensitivity is going to hurt you in PowerShell because, well, it's gonna. You see,
Right.
PowerShell
So
is case insensitive.
the tabs versus, I got to step on this for a
Oh,
second,
you
or
can
jump on
step
this,
on this for a
because
second.
the tabs versus spaces, man, you threw that in, and we hadn't talked about that before, and it is so true. However, tabs versus spaces, unless you're visibly impaired in some way, is not going to like affect you every time, and it's not going to blow your code up
Unless you work in
necessarily.
Python. Unless you work in
Yeah,
Python.
yeah, or YAML. Oh wait, actually, remember what we just said? It's going to hurt you. So,
So,
yeah,
we're not
let's
doing
talk
tabs
about it.
versus spaces training. We got enough stuff to be pissed off about today.
All right, all right, all right. Keep
All
me on
right.
track.
We're going to try this. This is going to keep happening because, again, we've all been hurt by case. If you feel like you got to chime in here because this has really hurt you too at a given point, please do. Share your pain. We're here for all of you. We're trying to be sensitive to the differences in case. Because PowerShell is case insensitive asterisk. Because it does not care about your capitalization except when it does.
Except when it does. That's right.
And
And so,
PowerShell is case insensitive. Go ahead.
so if PowerShell is case insensitive, then, PowerShell is kind of the exception there, right? It's not the rule. The rule is things are case sensitive, especially if you're working in the Linux environment. And if you're like me and you're like, hey, I've been doing DOS for a long time, then you kind of start to grind your teeth every once in a while. You're like, doggone case, it got me again. It got me again. However,
Yeah.
However,
Anything PowerShell plays with can still be case sensitive.
yeah, that's where it gets fun. So you may not want to care about case,
But
but
case is gonna care about you. And
because
I do mean
case
that as a
case is
threat.
caring. Case is very caring. It really does care about you. So, joking aside,
Is
actually,
it
we're not
entirely
joking
joking
aside.
aside? We're still
No,
joking. We're still
we
definitely
still got
joking.
lots more jokes. Just brace yourselves. So we're
Yeah,
gonna look at some sensitive spots because
we are case
we're case
sensitive.
sensitive.
All right,
Can
ready?
can you imagine the foolishness that we went through while building this slide deck?
This was so fun to build. And
See, this is the bad part about not being in person is I can't hear the groans and see the eye rolls of the audience.
yeah, you're welcome to be
So
off mute if you just want to groan or like slow clap. I think there are reactions in Teams too if you're in here for that. I actually am not really watching if there is a Twitch chat.
yeah, we see
There is
some
none.
claps, but I don't know that they have an eye roll or an I'm dead option.
I don't know. Or like, what's the the crutch, the horse, the crook, the thing people would wrap around somebody's neck to pull them off stage in old Looney
Oh,
Tunes?
oh
The
yeah,
crook, yeah,
the crook.
yeah.
By hook or by crook, we're gonna get through these slides. All right, roll on, man. Let's get off of this. All right,
Yes, let's talk about
sensitive
some sensitive
places.
places. Things that
Yes.
we know stink. Let's talk about cross-platform problems first, because that's where a lot of them are clustered. Pathing.
Right.
This
Pathing.
this is your rage locus, right? Or at least one of them, right?
Yeah,
So you want to
it
rant for a
really
bit?
is. Yeah, I'm gonna roll on this one. You can grab the next one for sure. Because pathing, like I said, I came from DOS and 30 years as a professional Windows person, administrator, support person, whatever. And Linux path are case sensitive, and I tell you what, that really takes some finger memory because you're just used to cranking along. Well, PowerShell will hide that for you because you can just do hey yeah tab and it fixes it for you. However, I have seen it where the case kind of trips you up because I've seen something as foolish enough as someone did a typo and they did two different directories of the exact same name in different case in Linux. And so it was in the wrong directory. And we're going to take a look at that.
Yeah. Can everybody see the screen?
Oh, yeah, here we go.
Okay, so we're going to make dir foo. Easy enough. Okay, we're going to go into foo.
Wait a minute. What is your console here? What are you
All right,
running?
I'm going to go back out of this. I'm going to go Docker run an interactive window into a container. This is the default container for PowerShell.
Here we go.
So this is just about how easy it is to have a Linux terminal, basically. So let's make Durfu, because every time you boot into this, it's basically a new box. All right, and we're gonna make
Very cool.
a few things here. We're gonna make a file temp.txt. I'm going to be a little creative here, and I'm going to give it a random number, just so we can really tell them apart. Okay. Temp.txt. temp.txt. And my sort of personal favorite, the angry case.
Ugh. Ugh.
Okay. Who wants to guess which one will tab complete?
Oh, we gotta poll the audience.
Any guesses?
Someone's got to guess.
Lowercase, yeah.
That's a good one.
Lowercase?
All right. We got one lowercase. Who else?
What's interesting here is lowercase actually won, but I don't know if it will always win. Because when we ran this test previously, uppercase had won. And this is exactly the point.
Okay, that makes me laugh because we did try this before, and it was the uppercase one that won the last time. And
You should
Try using a capital T and see what a tab completes to.
Well,
oh, that's a good suggestion.
or recreate the
That's
files.
part of the
with
point.
capital
Tab
letters.
completes to the lowercase. Nice.
yeah, so you might not care about case, but case cares about you.
Oh man.
And if I wanted to just get content temp, if I'm tab completing, that's going to be at least a little possibly error prone. If I'm doing this as a quoted path, that's got its own good and bad. Okay? I can get my different file this way, sure, but if only one of the cases exists, this would blow. I
that
love it
was
when
weird.
all my USB devices just shut off at once. That just makes for a wonderful screencast. Murphy's Law truly does love me.
I'm telling you what.
But if I go ahead and say get content TEMP, capital P, I can do this. There we go. And it's not wrong. There isn't a TEM capital P text. I'm sorry, there just isn't. But are you kind of getting where we might not want to care about case, but case is going to care about us?
Yeah.
All right, so let's try one thing before you get away from this, because that
Okay.
get content was really interesting. I want you to delete all the ones except the lowercase one, and then see if that crazy camel case looking thing will work.
Delete everything but the lowercase one?
Uh-huh.
I bet you it was the capitalization of the text that made it the lowercase, by the way, or work this way. Everything but the lowercase.
Everything but the lowercase.
Also, are you seeing what I have to go through to do this, thought experiment? Everybody else. All right.
Let's see what we got there. All right, now does the get content with the bizarro case work?
This?
That
No,
one.
of course not.
No. Well, why would it? Because it's case sensitive, except when it isn't. And then sometimes it isn't.
You went maybe
Well,
go through
I
all
don't
that
think the
typing for
problem-
that joke? Oh, man.
I don't think the problem is PowerShell here. I think
Oh,
the problem
no.
is the file system.
The problem
Because
is
if you
not
bring
at
up-
all
if you bring up-
PowerShell. This is
Yeah.
just so you're aware of where these things are going to hurt you. Because
Yeah.
they're going to hurt you. And speaking of that, let's go ahead and do another quick one here and talk about our next one. This one bugs me too. I can type. I'm going to install module. Yeah, I swear I can type. Scope current user.
Before you jump
Dash
in the
force.
next one, we were actually kind of talking about that a little bit before this, but I just kind of, one of my previous projects built out an API on a Linux box, but I only want to use PowerShell. but it still has to communicate with some of like the local files with some things that I'm running over there. Like I'm having actual PTSD flashbacks right now, like from all the
Yeah.
shit that I went through, literally because of case sensitive files between just like my ZSH file and my PowerShell profile having to communicate with each other. It was a
Fair.
nightmare.
And just to say two other things. One, I feel your pain. We all sympathize. This is here to share that pain. That stated, we are trying to keep it PG. I'm gonna work hard on this myself because everybody who knows me outside of recorded calls knows how much I emulate Samuel L. Jackson's vernacular. You know, but yeah.
Yes.
Going on. We installed irregular. Let's import module irregular. Oh, fine. It was nice to me that time. Let's try to do it by path. Now I want to note a couple things here. One, look, PowerShell capitalizes the M in modules. Okay? Two, same sort of problem if I wanted to import that path. If I took this, copied and pasted, if it'll let me, looks like it won't. So we're just going to tab complete our way through there. That's going to suck a little bit. And we're going to screw it up a little bit. Not that way. Just by case. And no go. And the same thing's true if I have imported by PSD1 paths. So if I go into this and I say irregular.psd1, yay, it imports. And if I'm off by one character, it does not. So, yeah.
So what I find interesting about that is when you did the import module and you just used the name, it figured it all out because it's browsing through your paths, and it figures out where those are. And then, because it's PowerShell and it's trying to be helpful, it says, I see an irregular, but it has a capital I, but you asked for a lowercase I. No worries, I got you. And it just solves it for you.
So it
But
can
like James
import
just showed, if you
by
do the full
name
path,
once.
then it
Yay.
falls apart.
But the other thing that I found out much more painfully while developing modules and trying to test them on Linux is that names have to match what's on disk in every place. Every single place. If you have a PSM1 file that is .psscriptroot/file name, that file name has to be the perfect case. If you have a PSM1 file that has a different case than the PSD1 file in your manifest, that won't work. There are so many times I have just... You might have to pull me back here, man, for a second, because I am also having PTSD flashbacks from all the horrible, horrible, hellish times. Flames on the side of my face, burning, heaving, breathing. Bonus points if you get the reference. All right.
Take a breath. It's all right. Because it unfortunately, there's another one.
That's much
and it's
worse.
the environment variables. Because environment variables are usually uppercase, but not always.
Yeah, you love this case format, right? This upper underscore case. That's your favorite, right?
This is my personal favorite because, again, going back to working with Linux, it's like it seems like every last thing that's an environment, whatever, in Linux, everyone just knew for the last 80 years. How old is Linux, Unix, whatever? That every environment, whatever, and every variable is always supposed to be caps. All of them. Well, I didn't know that. And so you got to go back to the shell here so we can take a look at it. Because if you do $env path, we gotta check
env.
it out.
Let's do that. Dir env. Let's look at our environment variables. Not too many in a terminal here, but let's look at path. Tab completed. Fine.
Now, do notice how almost all of them are caps, except for the PS ones and the PS module path and the PS module analysis cache path. Those are all mixed case. And
Well,
so you can tell the ones that people are like, it's PowerShell. I'm going to do it the PowerShell way versus this is Linux. We're going to do that.
and I can even understand this because, like, if I were to just copy and paste my script from Windows, I'm not going to change the normal tab completed case that I would get for this variable. So
But
obviously, I'm just going to keep using camel case if it's Linux stuff and I came from Windows. And this is the thing, like, you're not going to find a single convention of these. If you're dealing with people that wrote a bunch of node applications, there's going to be all sorts of environment variables that are dashes and all under or lowercase. Um,
ugh,
it's just basically going to be a kind of a tell of where it comes from, like a bit
I,
of a sign of its past. But it's
I
not going to
remember
help
that.
you other than knowing that it's going to screw you here.
So that's interesting you said Node because I remember when I was at Meta, we had a bunch of internal tools, and you could kind of I guess if you knew the etymology of the languages that they were used to and came from, you would have variables that only took uppercase and underscores. You would have variables that only took lowercase and dashes. And then others that didn't care. They were like, whatever, man, you do your thing. But by the way, we have a convention that we want you to use. It's just not enforced. And I was like, where does all this stuff come from? Like, why are these all uppercase onlys? It was so odd to me. And this
Because they've
one drives me
inherited
crazy.
decades
This
of
path one.
particular thought on a particular, operating system. But yeah,
Yeah,
go on about path because
yeah.
I
So
think we can
the path
illustrate
one,
this really quickly by popping back out of our terminal here and tab completing.
yeah. And path in Windows is capital P, lowercase, everything else. And so now do user. So here's another one that if you're switching back and forth, it'll drive you crazy.
Yeah,
So
there
in
is no
Windows,
user.
it's not user, it's username. In Linux, it's user.
Yeah. So
So, oh, you
back
got to
into
do your
Linux we
Docker thing
go.
again.
Yep.
And I'm gonna have to get you to get a tab set up in your terminal to take you right into your Docker.
Yeah, the sad thing about this for me, and this is just side ranting here, but it's like if only I didn't build like this module to customize Windows Terminal that I barely ever actually use. But I do actually build a module to customize Windows Terminal that I barely ever actually use. So please remind me of this offline, and sure, let's. It shouldn't be that hard, and if it's broken, that's just some more stuff of mine to work on a bit and fix. It probably
Well,
needs some love. It's called
yeah.
Terminal Velocity, right now at least. It was formerly called WTX.
So I shortcut my life by doing WSL, and Docker's great, and I love it, and I do that too because I have an Azure Cloud Docker on my tabs. So yeah, we'll hook up on that. But hey, back to our content. Oh
Oh
wait, there was
yeah.
one other thing. There was one other thing in there that we didn't quite finish all the way out, which was showing in Linux what the username environment variable was.
Oh
So this
well,
was
because
another
we're in
thing that
Docker,
kind
we
of
don't
burned
even
me.
have an even ENV user. We're not in Docker. In Docker, there is no ENV user, at least
There
in this
isn't?
configuration of it.
What happens when you type username and press enter?
You are not. I think it's uname that'll give me that. You are not root, or you root.
No, username, that is fascinating. So whatever
Who am I?
container you're using doesn't have,
I am root.
okay, so you're in as root. So that should be your username. So if you do $env colon uppercase user,
There is no
is it?
user.
There
We
isn't
already
one.
went through this. Look at how few environmental variables
Oh
there
my
are in a Docker
goodness.
container by default. Also, isn't that
See,
beautiful? Isn't that just beautiful? Like, think
it's,
about how few characters you need to care about there.
uh,
Like, how few things are exposing information to you. This is a nice Spartan machine. If you broke into this little VM, congratulations, you've won access to a bunch of default environment variables and no actual information about my infrastructure. Good job. Good job.
I know I know it's good from a security standpoint, but from a usability standpoint, I think I've lost some enamel on my teeth over this because I'm
You
just so
might.
used to certain things being there. So, all right, back to
All
the
right,
slides.
back to the slides because we could sidetrack
It's
on
like,
more pain. We're already going to be
yeah,
sidetracking on more
I'm going to
pain.
get over here and take some deep breaths. Oh, shoot. So much for
Jason.
my piece.
Yeah, there goes your intercom.
Here we go. All right,
Because
Jason.
everything in Jason is case sensitive. Every single thing. By default, JavaScript is case sensitive. JSON is case sensitive. JSON objects are case sensitive. Everything that uses JSON objects has no reason to promise you that it will use the case that you provided it. That's most web APIs, most schemas. Oh, and property names, those are incredibly important. If you just think you're going to get away with like writing a PS bound parameters, new object, custom object, convert to JSON, you're not. Because if most of them are not called by their name, they will ignore you.
Like, I'm sorry. Did you call me Steve? I only answer to Steve with a
I think
capital S.
also it could just be I only answer to Steven. Or,
Yeah,
if you
well,
want to go by your post summit, pseudo title, I only answer to Lord PowerShell. Although then I think you're a bit of a,
Lord PowerShell.
I'm still trying to make it a thing. It may catch on.
I don't. You can keep rolling. I don't think it's gonna. But it's not just true for JSON, is it?
No, it is not.
Because
Unfortunately. All XML too.
XML.
And
Because
that's
why
everything
not?
in XPath, everything in XML documents, everything in XSLT, everything in XML is case sensitive because of course
I've
it is.
actually worked with a REST API that required you send it true or false as all lowercase. However, when it sent the value back to you, if you made a request to like what the status was, it would give you true or false with a capital T or a capital F. So just because it sends you capital true doesn't mean it accepts capital true.
Oh my
That's even
goodness.
weirder.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Just absolutely lovely.
You
Also,
can't
apparently my
assume it will
main
accept
buttons are
whatever
not
case. Yeah.
working.
Ugh,
That's the true
that
tragedy.
hurts my soul. I'm
That
not
hurts
gonna
mine
lie.
too.
That really hurts. I feel worse for some reason. We need to go to the next slide because this one's just hurting me too much.
I will shortly.
Sorry, I shared my pain.
It's all right. Thank you for sharing your pain. We want to hear your pain because we have all been hurt by this. And we are talking about sensitive places. So please, if you have any other places where cases hurt you, share them now. All
I'm
right.
sure there's more because
Yes.
we have more slides.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, dang it.
Let's
Oh,
talk
man.
encodings because that's a good brief sidetrack from sensitive places. Case is not the only way characters are sensitive. Characters are encoded any number of ways. Output
Yeah.
encoding is what PowerShell thinks the default is. But nobody else got that memo. No other programming construct has any kind of concept that $output encoding exists. And that's
Well,
going to bite you once or twice.
it's a good thing nothing uses encoding, right?
I don't know. Databases are encoded. Files
Eh,
are encoded.
well, that's not
XML
too
is
many.
encoded.
It's still the short list.
Application
Oh my
returns, that one.
goodness. What?
Oh, you wanted to talk about WSL here, right?
I sure did.
Yeah,
I sure
this is
did.
your turn to screen share for a second.
Oh, good grief. Okay, let's
Because
see if
I
I can
cannot
make this
walk through
work.
this one.
Yeah, yep. All right. Let me pretend
Technical
like I'm
difficulties.
organized here.
All
And
right.
let's do this. Where's the button? And so this is going to look weird if you're looking at mine because I got to go over there to that camera.
And I'm going to try to figure out how to pop this out to this thing here.
Here we go.
There we go.
All right.
And yeah, now you can share,
Okay.
hopefully.
Yeah, time for my profile talk. So,
all right.
By profile I mean you get to look at the side of my face. So here is some. Wait a minute, I'm on the wrong window. Let me get this window over here because this is what I was doing. Too big. There we go. How's that? Is that good and readable?
That's good and readable.
All right. So what I was doing here is I was doing a demo about how to safely detonate content using a couple of different techniques. And one of them, I was using WSL. And so I was asking WSL, I said, hey, WSL, so you can just run commands here in the shell doing WSL and give me version. And there it is. It'll give you the version. All right, that's cool. But I was like, wait a minute. I'll pop that into a variable, and then I can query this variable and like get 0 back, right? Oh, okay, cool. WSL version this. So then I said, all right, well, let's pipe that into select string and pull back just the, let's see, what do I want? I want the WSL version or the Windows version. Now let's do WSL.
What's going
And I
on?
got nothing.
What is going on? What's going
So,
on? Tell me what's going
you
on.
know, what just happened here? And I was like, wait, I know I saw it. Let me pull that up. It was the very first line. So I'll pull back the very first line, and there it is. Okay, well, what's in line 2? How about nothing? Now, wait a minute. Let's maximize this sucker and go back up and look at what this output. It output this. Okay, so what if I WSL version count? All right, math is hard, I know, but computers are usually pretty good at it. How is this 15 lines? All right, so this is where things got fun,
Yeah.
and I was just fighting this thing. And I came across, actually, I didn't come across, I put out a call for help, and I was like, someone please save me from this foolishness, because I can't figure this out. I could not figure it out, because it's string content. Like, if you do that, you're like, hey, show me what this is. And it's string, and it's a string array. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what to do with this. And so Jordan Berean helped me out and sent me this link that he did, which he actually has a pull request out to the PowerShell code. And he said, what you have to do is this bit. Save your original encoding, change your coding to Unicode, run the command, and then set your encoding back. So if I do this, I'm just going to run all these. So now that I've done that, my WSL version count is 7. And now 1 is working. So WSL, when you're doing these commands, what it streams back to you is Unicode. So if I do $output encoding here, UTF-8. What WSL is returning is UTF-16. So you got a bunch of non-printable characters or non-printing characters in between each character plus in between each line. Thank you. That's awesome.
Yeah, it'll be okay, man. I think. I hope. I believe.
Can you hide shit in there?
Can you hide shit in there? I think that would be a question for Jacoby, if he can figure out how. Jacoby is in the chat
That's what
somewhere.
that's what I've been sitting here looking at the whole time.
Possibly.
Yeah, I'm loving this.
There's definitely like interesting things that could be done with encoding in a lot of levels.
Now, what's the command? I always forget this one that shows you the actual hex of the command. I mean the output. It's oh shoot, there's a way to view the hex of the output.
Format hex, I think, actually.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So if I
that
do
is there on Linux, let's see.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
So this is going to get weird because this is still the one that came back with UTF-16. So let's see what it does.
I'm kind of curious.
Yeah, we're
there on Linux. All right, cool.
Well, yeah, this is.
Also, you've just learned an extra bonus points tip today here.
This is actually Windows that I'm running here. So I'm running PowerShell on Windows inside this window, but the WSL commands what it came back with. was the UTF-16. So the real question
There is a format hex on Linux.
If I do this and I set this back to just the raw output, then what do I get? Oh, it is different. See that?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so here's the difference between running it from what just came back raw versus the other.
Just so everybody knows, format hex is really ancient. It's one of the oldest commands in PowerShell. It's like from PowerShell V1. It's the only non-formatting related format command, sort of, in that it actually outputs a real object. So you can actually go look at what it's outputting here and like peek into these properties if that's interesting to you, which I'm pretty sure it might be to a few people watching. So,
awesome.
Encodings.
Yeah,
they're
that's
fun.
my demo.
And that's not quite the only thing, because anything else can be encoded too. It is absolutely up to the thing that you are dealing with to choose how it is encoded, its content, for better or much worse. But
I think we need to go back to sharing.
Yes,
now
you're right.
The display is a little funky.
Thank you. There we go.
Oh,
Almost, maybe, one day, someday.
I'm laughing at Dan in the chat over here. Well done, Dan. I love it.
There we go. Okay. We're back. And
right.
There you are.
So the WSL, at least we have a solution for that. But you, if you're like me and you didn't know about that solution,
like I call that like a existential nightmare that like encourages imposter syndrome. Why isn't it working? I have no idea why it isn't working. Am I actually dumb? Am I the dumbest person on the face of the planet for not being able to figure this out? Because there's nothing telling me any clue why this is not working. That's what my brain would be going through, through. Because these things are not going to present to you, obviously. Like if you get content, a file back in the wrong encoding, it will often look basically just messy without a clear understanding of why.
So side story on that, somehow at my work, we managed to encode a carriage return into a password.
Oh, good.
So imagine how hard it is to enter a password when the last character is actually a carriage return.
You want to know the answer to that question? Because I actually had a friend that kind of did that once, kind of as an impish thing.
I know the answer. Format C :
That is an answer. On-screen keyboard and shift click.
Yes.
And it is so like, okay. I mean, it makes sense.
There are ways around it, but that's okay. So the reason I thought of that though is that format hex. Now I didn't use format hex. I used a hex display in Linux. I can't remember the command right now because frankly I can't remember half of the commands in Linux because they don't make any sense.
Fair.
But that's my beef aside. I'm used to the verb noun of PowerShell now. So anyway, so if you do format hex, you can see that there's extra non-printing characters in your output, and you can kind of figure out what's happening from that. And that's how we found out that we had an extra character that was a carriage return. Where that will burn you something really hard is when you're booting your console-based Linux system, which has zero GUI to it, and it prompts you for the password. And there is almost zero way for you to actually enter a carriage return without doing a return. That was very challenging.
Oh, fun. I hope nobody on this call ends up using that for bad purposes.
Yes, please do yourself and your future self and everyone else whose future is ahead of you. Please don't do that.
But we're not
thank
done
goodness.
Yet.
Oh, no, I thought we were done.
No, because you thought like .NET was safe. Everybody thought they were safe. but PowerShell can be case sensitive too.
Come on.
And when you least expect it, just like, the Spanish Inquisition. So my favorite example is PS commandlet parameter set name. I'm just going to go open up a new tab here for a second and drag it over and go to a module of mine called PS DevOps. This helps you work with
We don't see your.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Okay. Okay.
There we go. Okay.
Sorry, I was
So,
jumping the
PS
gun.
DevOps. PS DevOps is a fun little module. It helps you work with Azure DevOps and everything in GitHub and create GitHub actions, workflows, etc. Also Azure DevOps pipelines. Full of a lot of fun functionality. And the Azure DevOps stuff uses a particular interesting trick. What it does is, let me find a good example here. Get build here does this a lot. It declares parameter sets that contain the route. So I can basically say, hey, this build ID parameter will map to this thing I can do with builds. Cool. Great trick. Works wonderfully. Wonderful, simple way to approach routing within a command. Not the point here. The point here is to share our pain. And one day, I don't remember exactly what file, and I don't care, but one day I used a capital B instead, or a capital letter instead, in one of these segments. And it took me literally days to figure out why it was not working. There was nothing to tell me why my parameter was just starting to not bind, why everything else seemed to be working but this one single parameter, and I could not understand. I was feeling really, 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 really bloody dumb. And eventually I figured out just by observational pain, oh, PS commandlet parameter set name is case sensitive. If the PS commandlet parameter set name does not exactly match the same case every parameter you use it in, it's a different parameter set.
Oh my goodness.
So that was, I can't even, say fun as a joke. That was one of the least fun experiences of my entire life, at least as far as code goes. It was just absolutely maddening, and it is one of the few places where PowerShell hurt me. But that's not the only one, because my second favorite.
Wait, I have a question on that before you go there. Were you doing a build on a Linux system?
No. I mean, I was also doing builds on Linux that weren't revealing problems, but that wasn't a Linux-specific thing.
Wow, so that was in
That's
Windows.
a Windows included PowerShell
Gosh.
parameter set names are case sensitive. FYI, before you waste hours, days, or whatever period of time of your life questioning yourself. If you've already done that and you're watching this in retrospect, I am sorry for your pain, and I wish you'd seen this talk sooner.
So David asked the question, is that for both PowerShell and PWSH? So Windows PowerShell.
It is for
and
both.
PowerShell 7.
It is still a bug in 7. And I don't know if I would say you could or should fix it. I probably would argue for fixing it because I think that the few people that have been hit by it don't want it. I have been hit by it. I do not want it. I would strongly consider it a bug. But technically speaking, if it's been around the entire time the parameter sets have been, it's a legacy feature and you could potentially break back compat by changing it and yada, yada, yada. And welcome to why case sensitivity issues will never change, even in .NET. So my second favorite. Hash table new.
My favorite one I've discovered was types for parameter or types for variables, types and typesets for all of your default parameter or default formatters. Yeah, that's all case sensitive too.
Types and typeset of what? Oh, type names.
Yeah, when you want to type your output so that you can use the default formatter, those all come out case sensitive as well.
when you want to type your output so you can use the default formatter, when you
When you
decorate it
write-
with a type, that isn't case sensitive. The formatting engine doesn't care. But like, I could understand if parts of the type engine might. That's a good question, and I don't know.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah, capital volume and lowercase volume are different types completely. And your default formatters will pick up one or the other, but not both.
okay.
Okay,
I'm gonna have to do some experimentation in that one.
I want to see this one, Chris. If you
No,
can throw
I
that
don't want to
together.
go there right now. Oh,
No, not
I
right
gotta
now.
show this
Not right
page
now.
too.
Yes.
Yep.
Let's get through this, and then I'm hoping you can pull that rabbit out of your hat.
So
All right, second
let's
favorite,
start with
hash
hash
tables.
tables. So good old hash table. A equals B, C equals D. Okay? Good for us. HT keys, hash table literal, we're fine. HT2 is hash table. New. Add A, B, C, D. HT2 add A, B, and just to drive everybody even more nuts, lowercase c, capital D. Mixing my cases all over the place. And I do have 4 keys and values in there, and all their mixed case glory. All because I did hash table new instead of used a hash table literal. Isn't this one fun?
No.
This is
I'm
true for
gonna go with
ordered
no.
too. So,
Oh,
you know,
goodness.
I can say ordered is ordered and be fine, but if I just say ordered new, ordered add, I'll do it this way. Ordered 1 is 1, ordered 1 is 1, and I have 2 1s.
So you said that if you did ordered and then you did the ampersand hash table, that it doesn't do this. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So let's
if I
check
do
that
that
out.
there, 1, 1, 1, 1.
Oh, and it changed the case.
No, not really. It overwrote itself as I said it.
Right. Interesting. So this is a great example of where PowerShell, if you're using PowerShell directly, that it's actually trying to help you. But then if you're going back into what I would consider more of the .NET side of things, that it loses some of its safety, and you just have to know about that.
Yeah, and this is another one that bites a lot
Wait,
of
so
people
what's the
without them
difference
realizing
between
them. Hold up, I'll show you in a
using the
second.
constructor and just...
I'll show you in a second, because let me get through the generics first. Okay? So, generic, you know, dictionary. Generic dic is this. Okay, so we're going to add foo 1 and another foo 1. And check out our keys. Same problem. Okay? So what the difference is a .NET thing. Let's go look at its constructors. So I can create a new one. I can create a new one with capacity. Oh, I can create a new one with a comparer. And that's the trick. There is a thing you can pass. String comparer is the type. And ordinal ignore case is the one that I like. But you can see there are a few other options. Okay? So I'm going to call this ND. And nd add 1. I'll do it this way. nd 1. I can type, I swear. And nd1. Only one key. Oh, this time it didn't change the case. That's an interesting note.
That is interesting.
Welcome to the wonderful world of .NET and case sensitivity. Because PowerShell might be built upon .NET, but .NET itself is case sensitive. So no string comparer, no joy. Jeremy, does that help you understand what the difference is now? Because you chimed in about this
I think
earlier.
so.
Yeah, so basically when you use the hash table literal, it's using that comparer. I think that you can't tell the comparer after you constructed it, though, so let's double check that idea. ND pipe to get member. Actually, I have to look at... Oh, this should work. Yeah, no, I cannot see the comparer. Oh, no, I can. Comparer. At least on this one. So, what about hash tables? Get member input that. Nope, on a hash table. And ordered. Doesn't look like on an ordered either. So that's my today I learned. Apparently you can tell the comparer if it's a generic dictionary created with the comparer, but otherwise you are out of luck.
But the comparer on that was a property.
Yeah.
So what is it actually storing in the comparer?
Well, I mean, if I'm going to go out on an install module limb here for a second, install module posh for scope, current user. Let's see if I can find out. Because if you haven't known about this module, it's a good one to check out. Posh improves the PowerShell experience. One of the ways that it improves the PowerShell experience is it lets us look at a type in detail. So I can format custom and view full and see all the private methods of the thing. So we know that one had a comparer. We know it was a property. Let's do that for a hash table. And I bet you that they have a private property that has this information, but I could be wrong. Yeah, private method to set the comparer. It does actually look like they have a quality comparer. And they have iComparer is hidden the property for the other one. So it looks like you can get to it just by a different name. And I can get off my high horse because they're not actually hiding it. I'll check for ordered, though. Let's see about that. And this has been your Posh sidetrack. Posh is a fun module. You should download it. And this one... All right, I can get back on my high horse about this one. I don't see it. You guys see it?
No.
So, yeah. No fault in not knowing what comparer is used, and given that it's like a .NET detail that's basically hidden from you as a user.
Huh.
Huh.
How
So
about
.NET
that?
is case sensitive.
Good grief.
PowerShell is
Okay.
not asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. You get the number of asterisks we're putting on this. PowerShell tries to not be case sensitive, but all of .NET underneath it still is. All of JSON, all of XML, all of the Linux file system, all of the Linux environment variables, all of these things are still case sensitive and have the possibility to bite you.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness that .NET is it. That's it. We don't have any more, right?
No.
What?
I mean, we did .NET. You didn't think we were going to do .com? Because, like, case sensitivity goes way back. All of C++ is case sensitive, too. Canonically, it's a case sensitive language. So is C. So basically, the entire history of computing has been case sensitive. and almost everything on the internet, because almost everything on the internet, at least originally and perpetually, has been served from a Linux file system.
Unless your web server is IIS, and then it doesn't seem to give a rip about your paths
Does
or your
anyone still
URLs.
actually use IIS? I mean, I think
Oh,
like
great.
Kestrel does this too, but like to be fair, I do web in PowerShell and I do my best to make that a case insensitive experience, but I'm still building on top of the same case sensitive legacy, and that's the point. For those that are, still with us on this, roller coaster ride / pain sharing session, A, are you having fun at least a little bit? And B, is this case sensitivity training helping you possibly avoid pain? Because that's why we wanted to throw this together. That's the whole goal here.
That's right.
So do you know
And
where more of the potholes are now?
yeah, for sure. So since everything on the internet and everything in the past and almost everything except some little areas of PowerShell, this is where you're going to get hurt. Like just
Yeah.
trying to figure these things out, and you'll wind up looking for some assistance. And we're hoping that just by pointing some of these out and talking about it, we're helping you be like, okay, I wasn't crazy. That that changing that B one time, and all that I did was retype it, and it worked, and I don't know why. It might have been the cases that got you. You just
Yeah.
don't know. All right, so
Cases
how do we
get you.
wrap this up, James? How do we get out of here?
Yeah, some lasting sensations aside from, a throbbing headache from all the case sensitivity jokes and experiences. Case is unimportant until it is. Then,
And then it's very important.
yeah, it's like bang your head against the wall or keyboard important.
But since we like PowerShell will try to
Try to
protect
protect you
you.
until it can't. And I
Oh
don't mean to be
man.
the bearer of bad news here, but sometimes I am the messenger for some bad news, and PowerShell cannot save you from case sensitivity issues. You're going to need to save yourself. You need
Yep.
to know how to protect yourself from the pain it will bring.
I
We,
suggest you get a helmet
yeah,
because you may not want to care about case,
but we
but
have to.
we
Case
have to.
cares about you.
That's right. And so we do live in a sensitive world. So,
We must be sensitive of the differences in case.
and just in case you were wondering, that is our last slide.
Yes.
I don't
And
know why, but in the last bullet item that we had, the last big one, I could hear, what was it, Cyndi Lauper? Uh, we're living in a sensitive world. And wait, that was Material. And I think that was Madonna. All right, I screwed the whole thing up.
it's all
Never
right.
mind.
It's okay. I was going to stop streaming a second ago and stop recording a second ago, but now that last part has been captured for posterity.
Oh.
So thank you. Thank you, the internet that came for this. Anybody in the Teams meeting, hang around for some more PowerShell related chat and
Right. Hey,
see everybody next month. Sure. You
before we
want to
go,
before we
James,
go?
yeah, how can people connect with you?
Oh dear, I forgot we're supposed to do this sort of thing. So
Yeah, we
like
should.
I'm at James Brew on the site formerly known as Twitter and Mr. PowerShell most everywhere else. And I
Awesome.
am also at github.com/start automating. I have way too many projects and do a terrible job of promoting them, but they're mostly cool. Um, so
That's a heck of a way to promote it by saying you're a terrible promoter. Oh,
yes,
here we
I
go.
mean
Yes, the
it's a bit of a
URL.
pratfall. There's the URL
There.
github.com/start automating. There are tons of interesting modules to talk about on here,
Absolutely.
but I don't want to be here all week /month/year. Um,
All
but
right, well,
yeah,
go
what about
there and
you?
check
Where
it
do people
out.
find you, Stephen?
Okay, so I am at Stephen Judd on the X, formerly known as Twitter. And if you go to shortcutyour.life, yeah, do the shortcut your.life there.
Ah, maybe if my browser
Oh,
doesn't freak out.
what is happening? Then that will,
It wasn't a shortcut.
No. Shortcut your .life.
All right.
See, I even said it 3 times because someone stole the stinking .com. I couldn't get it, and I'm not gonna pay top dollar for it. There you go. Shortcut your .life. It'll take you to my blog and my content list, which I need to update because I've got new content. But if you wanted to see some of my past talks, or if you wanted to see where I contributed to some podcasts or some books, then this is the list. And from there, you can go to my blog and read about my blog posts about different ideas that I've had and things that I've come across. And then if you go to GitHub/Stephen Judd, I've got that spot for my repos, and I put my code out there that I'm sharing, the code that I'm sharing, because I don't share everything. Some things have to stay
Safely
in the
detonate.
percolation stage. There we are. Yes, safely detonate.
Hey, it was just the
So
one
this
that's tab
one,
completed for me, man. I'm sorry.
hey, no, Safely Detonate. It's a presentation I did recently at B-Sides in Tulsa at a security conference. And I also did that one at PowerShell Summit when they needed a fill-in slot. Since I had just given it, I hit it. So there's my code. The demo 2.1 setup Kali, that's the one where I demonstrated tonight the UTF-16 fix from Jordan Borean.
Cool. Well, thank you for providing that extra detail. So
Yep.
thanks, internet that's not in the Teams meeting. We're going to sign off now and hopefully see you next month. And Teams meeting, hang around and talk some PowerShell.